COP28.
Thank you, the COP28. Thank you very much for reminding me. We had people that are just family members of the president, just because you're a family member of not the president in
a
some
DG, one of the board member of that agency,
and
the rest
you
of
are
them.
traveling with them on taxpayer money that can be used for other things. Of course, eventually we are going to talk about how we are wasting money on different dimensions. But don't you think this is one of the problems? At what point does the president, and not just the president, those in a position of authority, put their foot down and say, hey, you're not on my team.
Exactly.
Yes, we are family, but what's your job? Why are you here?
Do you know that some of them are still believing that they're in the process of congratulating the president for becoming president of Nigeria? That is the thinking of some of them. You get it? Because I've had the opportunity of coming across some of them. They say, we are in Abuja. What is up there? We are still here we have not yet seen the president, but we are still trying to see how we can still extend our own greetings and congratulate him for becoming Nigerian president. I mean, for how long? Over 7 months that he has been on the throne. But the key message still remains, as you rightly pointed out in your question, can't the president also put a stop to this? Not just the president, including those that are around him. The majority of them are from the southwest, that come from the southwest, and hope that, okay, they are here, they just want to be part and parcel of the government, and they are becoming challenged to the purse of the government. Because as long as I'm concerned, most of them now, they are still staying in hotels. Some of them are staying in places they need to pay for. Most times they bring that responsibility to the person that invite them or the person that is housing them. Now become a challenge. So we just need to encourage them that it's not that it's bad for you to come to Abuja, but don't come to Abuja on the excuse to become a problem, a liability to the president of Nigeria and to people around him, and become an anger. Because you know what I mean by anger, not anger of a annoyance or vest. You become to hang around and become a distraction. Because when the man want to do anything, when he remember somebody is there, he begin to. Because there was one particular committee that the president formed, the tax reform, fiscal policy reform, and fiscal policy and tax reform committee that he formed. There are about 50 of them. And when I check the details of the 50 individuals that were part of them, majority of them come from Southwest. I was like, what is these people doing here? And when they finish their duty, they refuse to go. And up to today, the chairman of that particular committee is still exercising some power. And now I ask myself, is it that the committee have not finished his work, or what? Are they waiting for another appointment? Because as long as he's here, all the people around him will still be demanding for one or two things, and they'll be engaging. And for me, it's a strain on our government post. So they have to find a way and go back to Lagos, because most of them still have something they are doing in Lagos. If it's about politicking is not in Abuja. Go back to Lagos and attend to the grassroots politicking that you want to.
I know that we are focusing on the whole Lagos Abuja thing, but I mean, we have other people, not just the governor now, not just the president. Now we have other people moving because their townsperson is now a senator and lives in Abuja and whatnot. And you know, this it has become a menace. It has become a menace because we're out here singing and shouting that there is hardship and we're struggling, but whenever we have an opportunity as everyday Nigerians to prove our competence and integrity, we always go the other direction. We always find a way to dip our hands into the pockets and share the national cake, you know, and take as much as we can out of it. Now, Mr. Olisa, that is the NBA former NBA president. He mentioned, he urged President Tinubu to, you know, look into some constitutional reforms. How crucial do you think it is at this time for Nigeria?
It's very, very important, because President Tinubu is a constitutional man. I mean, when I mean constitutional man, he's someone that believes in restructuring agenda of Nigerian state. And restructuring agenda of Nigerian state means, let us look into the constitution and see the ones that we can now bring about devolution of power, whereby the stress that the federal government is facing in tackling some social and security issue can be relieved of the federal government, and the state government can take over. And when he was mentioning, let us look into the constitution, there are some aspects of the constitution that will help the president. By the time he releases those power, it will help the state to take charge of those problems. For instance, employment generation. Why is everybody putting employment generation problem on the federal government? Meanwhile, the state are the core respondent to do that. Federal government is not to be creating employment, because the resources that would have helped to create employment are domiciled in the state. Even though the federal government control those resources in the ground, the state can form conglomerate of corporation that will generate employment for people. But everybody's eyes on federal government agencies, everybody's eyes on the president to create employment, including interventions. We are talking about sharing 1 naira here, 2 naira here. It's supposed to go through the state, and that's why I see that they are talking about one social register that is not complete, that they spent 3 billion to do verification on. That is the work of the state. If that had been taken up by the state would have had a number of people who are vulnerable, and they will be able to attend to them. Not that the federal government will be the one going to state to count people who are poor or who are rich, who need help. The state will do that. But because the concentration and the power has been vested on the president and the federal government, that is why it has been. So with constitutional review of our land, we can now know that, okay, these are the power that the state is supposed to take over, and these are the power the federal government is supposed to retain. And practically, the federal government is supposed to just have power on just 9 items. Yes, 15. But here we are. They have power over 16 items in the constitution, and the state just have a few, including taxes and the rest of them. So Agbakoba is very correct. Let us use the constitutional means to correct this madness that we have in our society.
Still on Agbakoba's submission, let's look at, he said the president should crush the enemies in Nigeria's growth. What specific actions or reforms do you think that we need right now to be able to crush these enemies? Because I mean, we're starting to see it.
Exactly.
I don't want to jump the gun and say, are we see all these probes that we are seeing, all this questioning, you know, the suspension of Betta Edu, the investigation of her predecessor, are these the kind of things to see? If they are, how do we get it right?
Although that's just a starting point. Those are just my soft ways of tackling problem. The one that Agbakoba is talking about is how to use constitutional means to kill and destroy people that we have found to be the evil against this country. And I've seen them in 3 categories in the 3 sectors of the economy. There are such people in the forex market of Nigeria. When I mean forex, in the dollar exchange to naira market. There are also people like that in the civil service and public service. Then the last set of people are those ones that normally come out to collect government contract and put government into tight corner to sign certain policy or certain pact or certain agreement on certain businesses they want to transact with government. And look at it, at the end of the day, this set of people in this set of sector I've mentioned, they kill the economy. These are the people who will now go about causing problem through their means of wealth, their means of wealth they have gotten. Take for example, we are talking about insecurity in Abuja. This security in Abuja, we know that government have failed to tackle security through all means that the government is supposed to use. But there are people who want that to continue. Who are those people? Conflict entrepreneurs who believe that if insecurity continue, government will continue to import arms. Government will continue to look out for arms contracts given out to them. Then what about the state of our roads and state of infrastructure? There are people who believe that if they are giving contract, they will do substantial work and government will come back again and give them work.
You know, I was going to go there. I call it contractpreneuring. It's become a thing. We have people that bid for like, they will bid for contracts.
Exactly.
They will get this contract. They will overpad the budgets, 20 to 30%, overinflate these budgets. Then they will still not deliver
at all.
I and Gesiere one time were having a conversation about this, and she mentioned a conversation she was privy to. Someone she knew was sitting in a meeting, and it happened to be an ambassador of Nigeria to a particular place, and another ambassador of another, I don't want to mention, you know, where. And the foreign ambassador was talking about an African country, by the way, was talking about how, you know, they overpadded a particular budget and they got the contract and they did the contract. And the Nigerian ambassador was like, "Did you execute the contract?" And he said yes. And the Nigerian ambassador was taken aback. He was like, "Why? You could get away with not, you know, dealing with that. You could get away with not. Why are you doing that?" Is how, that's to show you the rot we have in the in the contract world. What do we do about contract padding? What do if we look at the world of contracts, just that subsect alone, the rot talking contract padding, giving out to contracts to the people in the offices under the guise of other people.
Exactly.
Then people that take contracts don't do it. Then they will still come back and take another contract.
Very well.
When they didn't deliver
the other one
on the other. How did we get here, Larry?
You know, we must understand the context of our political parties and party politics in Nigeria. I've said it on different forums that, you know, when a government comes into power, why do you think that all the members of that party will jubilate from now forever until they are out of power? You know why? Because they know that the Jews of the nation has landed on their lap. One of them is what? Contract and contract splitting, as well as contract padding, as well as contract reselling. They will get it and resell it to someone who will go and execute it. And another person that want to go and execute it, when he discover that what he has sold, what he buy as a contract, is going to make little or meager profit from it. It will now bring substandard into the job, and that's what is happening. Let's start with the political party in power, APC. Do you know that all the contract the federal government want to put out as bidding, who do you think will be bidding for it? It's the political party members. If opposition party member company come and bid for it, it has to be maybe a very top politician who we know that already is a friend to the president, a friend to the governor, a friend to the minister, a friend that can get it. But naturally, all the political party members will have one company or the other they will front for that will get the contract. And this will be in collaboration with the hearing of what the civil servant in that agencies were going to give. Because in contract, there's a sum that the government already planned, sealed, nobody will know about it. But guess what? Someone that is favorable among all the people bidding for it will definitely know the amount they are bidding for, the government have put. So they will quote something very close to that particular amount.
I mean, if you watched the entire the New Year speech of the EFCC chairman, he was talking about how, you know, investigators, EFCC investigators are very corrupt. But I feel like that goes beyond the EFCC.
Exactly.
That is something that is just in the civil service.
They're very well, very, very correct.
You know, and one of the biggest criticizers of any government is the civil service.
Definitely.
And you still find that much rot in the civil service. You go to get something in the civil service and they're looking at you and they're telling you they can find it. The moment you dip your hands into your pockets, like, you already know what to do. Exactly. And then it's made, you know, available
even within themselves. When their files get missing, I have a colleague, a friend that was in one of the government agencies ministry. His file missed, and the department that's supposed to produce the file, they turn him here, turn him there, turn him there, until he has to go and restart the processes again. So it happens there. And when it now comes to a larger society that things are affecting us wrongly, we just need to pay attention to them. But when we talk about the civil service, it is not just the lower cadre alone, but most times when these grievous activities that become a challenge to the country is at the top cadre of the civil service. Look at what happened in humanitarian ministry. 10 individuals, top 10 individuals were picked up who participated in these shenanigans of sharing 3 billion to 12 companies. These are the 10
that can be seen now.
Exactly, that can be seen now. And those are the 10 that participated in it because their table features permanently, their signature feature permanently on the memos that are exchanged to the approval of those money going out to those companies. And what do you expect? And
where's the place of accountability? We have established several times on this station and everywhere else that you cannot have accountability without transparency.
Definitely.
How do we get to a place that there is transparency, there is accountability? How do we trust? Because now we are talking about the rot of corruption, how badly, how disgusting it is in the country, how terrible
it is.
The situation is. Everybody is being called to wake up. In fact, you don't have to be called to wake up. You would know to wake up.
Exactly.
Like my question is, how do we know that they will be held accountable? We are seeing these people being investigated. Some of them are being investigated on the open, in public eye. Others behind closed doors. How sure are we that these people will not find a way to escape through the courts?
I've laid a foundation for this discussion about how to treat corruption in Nigeria. Look at the political party in power first. That is where the problem springs from. They have won election, they are now in power, they can do and undo. They put their machinery in place, they set their men in place. Their men will tell you that they contributed 1 naira, 2 naira for the growth, for the victory of the party. So how are they going to recoup their money back? They will recoup their money back through contract. Now the contract is coming, and they are being given the contract. How do they get the contract? They get the contract through means whereby they have gotten the information about what is the details of this contract, and they also pay for it. They are not just going to walk into that ministry and say, okay, we want this contract. They also go follow through the tables, and following through the tables means that something must come out. And I know you must have heard about 15% drop or 15% kickback. It happens. It's not something that is strange. It happens, and they do it. And if you don't want to comply with them, they will make sure that they frustrate you. Except maybe you have somebody that's up there, or the minister is interested. And when the minister is interested in that particular job or in that particular contract, another thing will happen, just like the one that happened in humanitarian disaster of ministry, because the minister was interested. That's why it took alacrity, sharp for the release of the money. If she was not interested, the civil servant would not take back seat and begin to dictate how it will move. But because the minister was interested, it was very fast. That's why they can come back and tell us that in 1 month they verify 11 million people, which I have said that even INEC have never registered 11 million Nigeria in 1 month when they are doing registration of voters.
But then again, in the defense of this, Tinubu is going after his own. Better Edu is one of his own.
Exactly.
I mean, shouldn't this count as him doing something about it? Because you said we should start from the ruling party.
Exactly.
Shouldn't it count as something? Should Nigerians start to maybe open their hearts to trusting this administration to actually go after whoever it is that needs to be gone, to be, gone after?
One thing about the Beto Edu case is she fought against the law. There is a law around public account system. There is law around what they call the Bureau of Public Enterprise system. There are about 3 cardinal laws that she kicked against when she was trying to get this job for this money out of the system. This law should be followed. What are the punishment of these laws when you kick against them? That is the best way. It's not about asking her to go to EFCC. Now EFCC will pick up and say, okay, they are taking her to court with 200 counts, because I was hearing someone, they took Emefiele to court with about how many counts. They may take Betty Edu and her gang to court with about 200 counts. At the end of the day, it will not be any count before the judge, because the judge will just call, they are just coming to waste his time. Now, the laws have been stipulated that when civil servant or a appointee of government kick against this law or is against the law, there are certain punishment that is meted. That is how to do it. So that is how we can believe whether the president is trying as much as possible to sanitize his cabinet. But if at the end of the day, EFCC just do their own jamboree with the media trial and the rest of them, and this woman is set free after a year of trial, that's it. I've seen a lot of that kind of drama in this country. Fanika Yode tomorrow is still working free. Is anybody asking him any question? Why is he working free? Because the law that's supposed to take a course on what he committed have not been utilized against him. And that's why this Betty Edu case too. If the law or what she did wrong against is not used against her, she will not receive any punishment.
Oh, you're still listening to Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja. This is VIP Roundup. Myself and Adefolarin Olamilekon will be having a conversation about, the decadence of Nigeria. The rot. Is it time for the president to rain fire and hailstone on the enemies, and brimstone rather, on the enemies of the progress of Nigeria? Is it time for us to take desperate measures, or are we still supposed to be playing politics with the future of this country? Now, in the video of the EFCC chairman, that's Olaolu Kayode, he stated that 2.9 trillion naira just in 3 years, roughly 2018, 2020, just in that amount of time, 2.8 trillion naira has been diverted for personal use. And it is beyond alarming.
Exactly.
I heard when I watched the video at first, my stomach turned. For real. This is what happens, and when you start to discuss it, they say you're not meant to be emotional. And I ask, how can I not be emotional? How can you not feel emotional about this kind of statistics? This is money that I would have been able to do, like he said, 1,000 kilometers of roads.
Exactly.
would have been able to have, we are struggling with the health sector in this country, and we would have been able to build hospitals in every, standard hospitals in all of the 36 states.
Exactly.
Among other things, with these monies that have gone into less than 1% of the Nigerian population purses. The question is, do you think that this revelation will impact the fight against corruption, and how? Because now it's just a revelation.
Exactly.
We've seen several occasions where things are said. People are beginning to, you look at people like, oh, okay, they can get the job done. Is this enough? If it's not enough, what else do we do?
I think saying it is quite right on his part, because it's to kickstart what he thinks he can do in fighting corruption, but first exposing us to that. These are the amount that have been let loose in the system. And also remember that period that he was talking about, there was 2 trillion naira that was injected into Nigerian economy by the CBN. I don't know whether this one is part of the 2.6 trillion that he's talking about. But one thing I know, that to fight corruption, he has started it. But how to ensure that that fight is sustained and there's results is where we have issue. To still take me back to the political party in power. They must save their own. They must guide their own. All this money that he made mention, this was during Buhari time that got missing. That money didn't get missing. The money was taken by people as a means of compensation for them to use for themselves and for their family. Not that the money in federal port doesn't get missing.
I mean, if it's compensation, are we now coming back to the cost of running for office? Because if you check how expensive it is to run for office, don't you think that encourages this corruption? Definitely
it does, and we have said it on several times. It does, because we have a monetized political system that we practice in Nigeria. We have a system whereby the election is so monetized to the point that the biggest bidder, the biggest person, not Ghana must go this time around, but a storehouse of cash, of naira and foreign currency, is the person that political party will give their nomination from to. That is what is happening. So when that person has spent all that he has, all that she has, what do you expect him? Or he has gotten support from here and the people have donated, including crowdfunding him, including the dinner donation and the rest of them. And those people will form groups. You know what happened is that if you look at the contextual nature of Nigerian politics, different groups, even including political party that lost, they have different groups who will be funding that political party one way or the other, either by transportation, either by means of logistics, either by donating their offices and the rest of them. So they want something back in return. So how they get that thing back? It's through contract, it's through employment racketeering, it through means that they can just lay hands on something from the federal post. And the country is so rich when it comes to that. So in the process of ensuring that this thing is done rightly, I give you a typical example. In Abuja, there was a time that all the area council were being given opportunity to construct 2-kilometer road, 3-kilometer road, 4-kilometer road within neighborhood of certain areas. And what do? They will pick people who have worked assiduously for that political party in power in the FCT, and they will nominate somebody to spearhead the contract. But guess what? They will collect that money, because that time the money was maybe 4 million, 3 million to construct some feeder road. And they will hit the money. They will not do anything. The highest they will do is go and bring grader. Even I witnessed one recently. They call it constituency project, and they just bring grader. You know what they call that road? They say it is earth road. What it means by earth road is that they will just fill it with red sand, and that is no quota, nothing. How much did I got to know that they collected that on 34 million naira? But you go and check that road today, it's dead and dead.
There's a suggestion I saw somewhere on X, and this individual said one of the ways to curb the expense of running, in fact the number of people that run for office in Nigeria with ill intention, one of the ways to curb that problem would be to reduce the salary and allowances of people that occupy public office.
It has been said on several occasions. That's why when this particular bill of not too young to run came in, there was another bill that talks about independent candidate. Then there was another bill that talks about how to ensure that political appointees and elected officials are going to work as part-time, and they only earn allowances, no salary, no 300% when they are leaving office, including ministers across board, ministers, commissioners, and the rest of them. But you know what? When that bill got to National Assembly, they killed them one after the other. It was only not too young to run that survived. And why did it survive? Because there were international backing who sponsor NGOs that were doing that fronting. But the other ones that they were not receiving funding from anybody, they die natural death before they even get to National Assembly. Some of them die natural death. But right now that people are thinking that we should have a rethink over our electoral act, we can introduce that into the electoral act that contesting for an election is that you are going there for service. You are not going there to go and accumulate wealth, because the processes that we are right now is to go there and accumulate wealth. That's why I was having some discussion with some people, and they are challenging them that they were telling me that a particular senator went to his constituency and he bought over 1,000 grinding machine, he bought over 500 motorcycles, and I said, it's like you guys are just young people interrogating Nigerian politics. Since 1999, we have been having people buying sewing machine, grinding machine for people as intervention. Go and ask those people that collected those intervention, where is their out? They have been even more poorer than when the senator made them than now. What I mean is that they were collecting those things, but at the end of the day, some of them sold it because it was not used for them. But when a senator or a constitutional project is to bring about infrastructural development in a particular community that will help and aid economic growth and economic development, people will not beg for arms.
Are Nigerians then incapable of electing the right people to represent them, even at the grassroots, from the grassroots level? Because now it's pointing at, I mean, these bills have been raised before, but then they died in the House.
Exactly.
If they did, that means the people that are in those positions are looking out for themselves.
Exactly.
The people that put those people in those positions are you and I.
Exactly.
Are we now as Nigerians incapable of electing the right people to get into those positions?
Let me bring this exposure to Nigeria. You do party politics in Nigeria, because at my MS level, that was the details of my thesis, party politics development in Nigeria, and it gave me opportunity to interview a lot of people. The way party politics is in place in Nigeria is this: at the world level, all the political parties that you see, especially the three major political parties, APC, PDP, maybe we can say Labour Party for now, or we go back to AME, APGA, that were already existing before Labour Party took over the third position. Now, at all the local level, this party operates with executives at world level. These world level guys, people that we say at the world level, what do? They capture the heart of people within their community or within their constituency. How do they do that? They introduce a lot of activities that will make them to embrace the political parties. And what do? They ensure that something comes down from the local government chairman, who is a party member, who paid dues into the world level, and that dues can be used to attract the people at that level, and that's what they do. Now, the other people that are not interested in party politics, they are not interested, they only go and vote. The only thing they can use to capture them is that when election comes, they give them stipend. Those are the ones that we say that will bring about vote buying. But before vote buying will start, these other ones have been existing, because the way it is being structured is that at the political level, from state level, at the national level, then you now have state level, then local government level, then world level. All of them have hierarchy and structure that ensure that the political party function and be able to penetrate into the in and out of a particular community. That's why I see that when there's an occasion and you go to those kind of local occasion, they will be introducing the world party level chairman. So person is here, and is here is the chairman of so person world. That is how they get into the heart of people. And at that occasion, what did the local world level chairman of that political party will do? He will bring out something to support the occasion that the community is doing. Is that not so? But ordinary person that is not interested in political party, is on the election, will only come when the election comes and say I want to contest for election, don't knowing that these people already penetrate into the heart of the people. So when the election comes, who are they going to give the nomination form to? Is the person that have been contributing one way or the other to the political party. And that's why people have been suggesting that even with Labour Party and other smaller parties that is coming up, people should join them and ensure that those parties spread to the rural area as well as the local community, so that, because with that, genuine people that we want to contest for election will come out. A teacher, a primary school teacher, a secondary school teacher, a farmer can contest and come out. But what we have is that if those kind of people are not in those political parties, those ones that are in city will take over those political parties at that world level, and that is just it.
I mean, very, very sad circumstance. Now, let's look at the last matter arising on this issue, because, I mean, we can go on on that particular issue of how, we are all lax and how we've all failed Nigeria. Although it's easier to point the finger at the next person and say, oh, no, it's your responsibility. But like I said, if you don't like where you're at, you change it. If you're in the rain and you don't like it, you move away from it. You don't remain there and keep wailing, which is what Nigerians have been guilty of doing time and time again. Now, the House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee has ordered ministers of health and trade, industry and investment to refund unutilized funds meant for COVID-19 mitigation in 2020. First, let's talk about the implications of these directives. Then we can now start to dissect it to see where, one of they did not even mention the 10 billion. That 10 billion question, how it wasn't even brought up at all until, they were probed and they were backed in a corner and they said, I have the document right here, and you had something to submit. But before we get into that, what are the implications of this directive?
The thing is this, many of us don't understand there are slush fund in every government agencies. That slush fund has money that meant for a particular project that normally sometimes they call it I think in 2024 budget they call it emergency money. That emergency fund is slush fund that anybody can just go there and pick. Now, what happened to this particular issue that we're talking about is this: money has been given to carry out a particular project, and the year of that project exit. That means it finished, nothing was done about it. Then the money was kept somewhere. But the defense this set of people will put up is, which is the implication of what they have done, is that they will tell you that they didn't get the approval to utilize that money until the time expiration of that particular project. Some will say, as a result of Minister of Finance did not release the money on time. By the time they release the money, the project has expired. That is the implication. And the other way around is this: you will ask ourselves, why is it that the National Assembly is not interested in that particular exercise? You know why? Because there was an information that linked between the ministry and the National Assembly members that now knew that something like this has happened. And how do they know? Constituency project is the issue. Because most of those palliative that you are expecting during the COVID-19 supposed to serve as a means of constituency project for National Assembly members.
Why people died?
They didn't get it.
People died.
Seriously.
People were not able to afford as little as noodles.
Definitely.
Gary that we always run to. People couldn't afford. You remember how people were turned into barbarians.
Exactly.
They were tearing down warehouses. Nigerians faced unending hardship.
Seriously.
And we had 10 billion naira sitting in an account. That excuse cannot hold water, saying it wasn't. Because how are we in this situation? It doesn't make sense to me.
It definitely to you it does not make sense to you.
But then how does it make sense to them?
Because in the bureaucratic nature of government, it's a mill that works slowly. It grinds slowly. A file will move from year to year. A file will move from year to year. By the time the file will move all around the whole building, the time frame for the project has what? End.
How much work do we have in the civil service to do that files are taking 20, 30 years? And I'm asking this because I have been to a particular secretariat, I'm not going to mention which, whether I was federal or state, but I went there, I needed something done. It was just like 3 or 4 files on the table. And I asked, can we just wrap it up? And the woman looked at me and said in Hausa language, my child, if I do this one today, what will I do tomorrow?
You see?
How many times have we gone to government agencies and secretariats and we will see staff members under mango tree drinking kunu and zobo?
It happens.
And soda and gisting. In fact, it's become a thing that when you get a government job, federal or state, you're relaxed because you don't have work to do.
At all.
So what are we blaming for this, if not sheer wickedness? What do we blame? What is the excuse? That people died because they couldn't afford food. People died because they couldn't take care of their families. There were men slumming and passing on. Wives became widows, children became orphans. The life of people it was turned around. The trajectory of the lives of certain individuals was turned around because somebody or a group of persons decided to siphon these funds or to hoard it until the noise passes, so that they can put it in their pockets. What is more inhumane than this?
I made mention that why this thing got exposed was that it's supposed to become a constituency project to the National Assembly members, and they didn't get it. That's why they have to make noise about it. Now, it takes us back to the nature of our civil service and public service, the bureaucratic nature of how they work. Many people have been saying, hey, let us bring our report back and implement it. For me, it's not about the report. It is about the nature of how our public service and civil service operate, the tempo that they work. We borrow some of those bureaucratic nature. You get it? What's his name? The German sociologist was the architect, the pioneer of bureaucratic nature, Weber. And the system that he brought about when he introduced that bureaucratic nature of how government can work wasn't the way that we are practicing it. Chinese also have their own model. US have their model. UK have their own model. Our own was different. Even though some people tell you that it was the colonial master that gave us. No, when they gave us that kind of bureaucratic nature of public servant and civil servant, they didn't tell us that we should be turning file and be returning file up and down in the name of somebody must sign, somebody must not sign, somebody must receive mail. Do you know what it takes? I know you must have seen a memo or a letter from one minister to director, then it will go back to the minister, it will return back to the permanent secretary, before it will now come back to the final person that will act on it. You will now see that if you see the memo or the letter, you will see different layers of signature and dates scatter on it, and that is the nature of the bureaucratic that we have.
I want to go on rambling because I feel a fire within me right now. It's and I feel every right-thinking Nigerian should be troubled by the state of the nation. And when you think about this country, I'm putting it to you out there, when you think about this nation, think about your children and their children that have not been born or have been. What is going to be left if we continue down this path? What is going to be left for them? Now we've mentioned a lot of issues in today's episode. We brought to light the critical issues plaguing Nigeria. We started off with the Better Edu situation, and the subsequent investigation by of her predecessor, the revelation by the EFCC chairman about the 2.9 trillion, and of course how bribery within the EFCC raises a lot of concern and brings about a lot of embarrassment. Of course, the directive by the House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee to refund 600 billion naira of the underutilized 600 billion naira.
That is about 3 state budget for a year.
600 billion naira unutilized, and we are in debt. The painful thing about this is these monies, most of them were borrowed.
Definitely, they are.
This is not Nigerian money.
They are not Nigerian money.
Now, of course, we also spoke about Olisa Bakoba, and his call to Tinubu to confront these issues. The madness has to stop, where he said that the issues of contract padding, contracts, preneurship, if you permit me to say it like that, and how there's non-delivery by contractors, and we highlighted the need for the government and the people to do what needs to be done for the nation to move forward. The question I do have for you, which is the final one before we leave the studio: how can Nigeria overcome the challenges highlighted today to achieve a sustainable economic development and address the political and the social issues that we are facing effectively?
I think for me it's going to be a two-way win for everybody. One is that the elite have a responsibility, the people have a responsibility. Although the president have said in his New Year's speech that the people must also take up their responsibility. Fine and good, we must take up our responsibility, but we know that the buck stop on this elite table, meaning that all of them that have been appointed as political this, as political that, they have a huge responsibility, because if they don't wage the stick among themselves. Just like Agbakoba is talking about constitutional review to tackle this madness, there is nothing the people can do. Meaning that if there is no platform to ensure Nigeria is better, the people cannot hold on to it. Meaning also that we have a responsibility on our, and that's the responsibility that we want to make Nigeria better. In your own corner, in your own little assignment that you have, ensure that you have that good spirit, that spirit that will say this madness was stopped. That is what I see, because we have experimented several ideas on how to ensure Nigerian work, but the issue remains that if the elite are not ready to make it work, the people will remain docile, and the people will also be part and parcel of making it so complex not to make it work. And blessing, permit me to say this: if President Tinubu is not ready to tackle corruption, no Nigerian will be willing to say corruption must end. That is just simple as.
Thank you very much, Adifolarin Olamileko. Thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
For having me.
Thank you for always coming through. Conversations with you are seamless.
Thank you
very
so
much. Well, we have highlighted pressing issues in Nigeria, including corruption revelations and whatnot. And I do hope that you've learned something, you've picked something. Do follow Voice of the People on social media platforms at VOP Abuja, especially on YouTube. You can, of course, go back and find today's episode on YouTube. I leave you with this quote from Barack Obama. It says, "In the face of impossible odds, people who love this country can change it." My question to you right now is, do you love your country? I'm not asking if you love the situation in your country.